was supposed to be one of the happiest moments of his life, and it turned into something tragic.
And now, a painful memory the family of Tyreek Burton will never forget. The 37-year-old was married for about 7 hours before a day filled with happiness and joy took an unimaginable turn.
Sometimes the best things in life comes side by side with the worst things in life. This was the case for 37-year-old Tyreek Burton, resident in the United States of America. Now, Tyreek Burton was married for just 7 hours, after which he was fatally taken down by another man on the day of his wedding. He couldn't even go for his honeymoon. And when I researched on this case, my heart sank. But I'm still going to share the details of this story so we all learn some lessons from it to improve our lives. So the best day of Tyreek Burton's family's lives was quickly turned into the worst Saturday night ever for any of them. This is because they had spent the entire evening dancing the night away with their loved ones around them. Tyreek Burton was raised in Roxborough in North Carolina alongside his 3 other siblings. Now, he and his new wife he had married on the same day he would be taken down had been together for 16 years. And between them, they had 4 daughters. And they were making plans to expand their family even more. But guess what? Just hours after the couple got married, tragedy struck as Tyreek Burton was leaving the wedding venue. It turns out that Tyreek Burton was allegedly under the impression that his new wife had already gone home. And so when she called to tell him that she was not at home, Tyreek Burton decided that then he would return and go back and get her, so they all go together. At this point, Tyreek Burton was actually driving, allegedly. So based on this information, he decided to make a U-turn, and this is where everything started going downhill. But before I get into it, I hope you are able to imagine and picture this clearly with me. This is a man who is 37 years old. He has been with a woman for 16 years and they have 4 children between them. And this is the day they finally decided to get married. They've gotten married. You saw them in the footage at the beginning of this video. They were dancing their heart away. This guy was so excited. And the wedding ends. They are preparing to go for their honeymoon. And as Tyreek Burton, as the groom, is leaving the venue of the wedding, he finds out his bride is not already at home like he had thought she was. So he decides to turn around and go and get her. So they go together. It's like everything is going smoothly. In case you are wondering how come he would have forgotten or missed the fact that she is not at home but still at the venue, I don't think that is a problem, because it could have happened as a result of the excitement of the day. But this was how it happened. So at this point in time, he had to make a U-turn to go and get his wife, so they go home together. And this was where disaster would strike, because according to reports, it's been alleged that just at the time Tyreek Burton decided to turn around and go and get his wife, he made a U-turn on the highway. And in the process of making that U-turn, it seems he cut somebody off, a random person he didn't know. I don't think he probably intended to cut this person off. I think it was out of the excitement of, hey, I have to go back and get my wife. He's happy, he's excited. He's probably even feeling bad that he didn't know she was there and he was actually leaving her. And he now has to rush and make amends and be the gentleman he seemed to be. So I think it all comes from a good place. He just cut somebody off, but for probably genuine reasons. And just that act would spark off something that would be very disastrous. Because, as it turns out, after he cut this person off, it appears the person didn't take it lightly and decided to chase him and engage him. Now, in the course of this engagement, unfortunately, 9 p.m. on this day, which was the 21st of October, Tyreek Burton ended up being gunned down by this stranger that he cut off on the highway in his attempt to quickly go back and get his wife, whom he had just married on that day, just about 7 hours earlier. This man, whom is still yet to be arrested, is reported to have made sure that Tyreek Burton was not leaving that location alive. To the point that, according to the police who reported to the scene, it was just crazy. The man he cut off on the highway fatally unalived him with his gun and fired 15 shots at Tyreek Burton. His wife, Kiera Holloway, who is 33 years old, couldn't overcome the pain. And I don't know these guys, but I could feel it, because imagine, not to even talk of the fact that he's a human being and all, he also just got married. They just made their union legitimate after 16 years of being together, and this happens to him 7 hours after the marriage. They couldn't even go on their honeymoon. Over what? Crossing somebody on a highway. Reports have not yet been able to confirm whether Tyreek escalated the issue or whether he had a part to play in the escalation of the issue, or even how the issue escalated in the first place. And this is where it gets tricky. I try to highlight or educate on some of these things. And these things can happen to anybody, whether you are driving or whether you are even just a walking pedestrian on the road. What am I saying? You can look around and put this to the test yourself and revert back in the comment section whether what I'm going to say is accurate or not, depending on where you are located. But most often you would find that when you are using the road, either as a driver or a walking pedestrian, or even as a passenger, you will notice that when people cross others, or when someone missteps or makes a mistake in the course of their usage of the road, you will see most people don't take lightly to it. There are instances, someone will hurl an insult or two at another person for messing up. And there are instances where even the culprit, the one who messes up on the road, rather chooses to hurl an insult at the person, prompting him or her about the mistake he or she has done on the road. And sometimes it escalates to fisticuffs. And sometimes it escalates to what has happened to Tyreek Burton. But the question is, how does it get to these points? And I think this is where we need to start paying attention to. I'm beginning to see that this is probably becoming one of the underlying causes of most of the true crime cases. And that is with regards to emotional intelligence and how things escalate so fast. People don't know themselves as much as they should. Most often people spend so much time trying to know other people instead of first getting to know themselves and conquer themselves. So you would find in some situations that things that should have not even escalated begin to escalate. And when it gets to that point, you also begin to find that, there's a saying, it takes two to tango. If the person who committed the offense is escalating it, the person whom the offense was committed against could also try and de-escalate. But at a certain point, you may find both parties escalating, doing more of trying to get the other to back down. And before you realize, something which could have been escalated and neutralized with just a show of mutual respect and acknowledgement, an admission of fault and an apology, would suddenly have gotten to a point where lives are being lost, where damage that is irreparable is being done. I'm not saying that is the case here, but it already looks like it could be. This case is still pending. It's happened just October 2024, and it hasn't been solved yet, as far as my research shows me. I didn't see anything that even showed that the culprit had even been identified and arrested, but the father has been lost. And at a certain point, depending on who you are dealing with, it might not even take two to tango. Some people escalate things all by their lonesome. You may not even have to say anything. The first thing you did was enough to escalate all the way. And I think that we need to start learning how to de-escalate situations, such that if you are meeting people who are probably facing other things in their own lives and you were the last straw that broke their back by what you did, you would have the skills to de-escalate. I think it's something everybody needs to learn. Parents need to teach their kids. Adults need to learn for themselves. The youth need to learn for themselves, because with the way the world is going, having that skill can make the difference between coming back home alive or coming back in a casket. Yeah, it sounds a bit dark, but that is the truth. People are going through a lot. Sometimes some people have been through so much, they are almost at their breaking point, and your genuine, innocent mistake, without any malice intended, could end up being the last straw that broke their back, and then they will explode on you. That's not to say that is what played out here, because the person hasn't even been arrested, but I'm just speaking from the perspective of a road user and what I've seen people do when things like what happened in Tyreek's case happens to them on the road. But I digress. Sometimes some people are also just psychopaths and lunatics, and they just go off the deep end with the first thing that is done. We just pray we don't meet them, and when we meet them, we hope we have the wisdom and intelligence to navigate and avoid anything they would have considered. As it stands now, Tyreek Burton has been buried, but the investigations are still ongoing. His 4 kids are shattered, his family is shattered, and they are demanding justice for Tyreek Burton. But as it stands now, the case still remains unsolved, and we are looking to see it doesn't become a cold case. It happened in October 2024, and already it's been 5 months. I choose to believe the police are working the case. I know and I understand some cases take longer depending on what they have to deal with to solve the case. But in any case, my heart goes out to the family, the children, and all the loved ones of Tyreek Burton. This guy was so full of life. You should see how he was dancing at his wedding, But little did he know that as he danced with his wife, his time was almost up on this earth. So sad. Share this with friends, family, and loved ones. People need to learn how to de-escalate, how to be emotionally intelligent, because sometimes it could lead to all these things. Subscribe if you are yet to do so. Turn on post notifications. What do you think about this case? How do you think things could have been handled for things to go differently, if possible? If you have any case wherever you are in the world that is linked to things like this, please share the details with me in the comments. I want to explore more on this because I see it's a global thing that most people are not paying attention to, and I want to use my channel to start creating more awareness on things like this. No life deserves to be lost on the back of issues like this. Human beings are complex. There will always be one misunderstanding or the other. But I don't think any misunderstanding, no matter what it is about, is enough to lead to someone's life being taken. I don't think so, especially when it is not in self-defense, where somebody is actually trying to end yours. I don't think so. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe out there.